What's up, Western Iowa Tech students? We have the extraordinary women of Western Iowa Tech Community College, and we have Revathi Chun. Now, before we did this, I really messed her last name up, right? And she corrected me, right? And we were wondering whether we should record it, but I stand to be corrected on a recording. I'm good with that. Especially with you, Revathi, especially with
you did great. You did great, Mike.
Yes. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. So we're just going to ask you some questions because you're one of those outstanding ladies at Western Iowa Tech, and you are our Dean of Inclusion, right? Yes. And that is something that is new, not only to Western Iowa Tech, but the Iowa Community College system. You're the first.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. You know, and I won't ask you right now how it's going because I'm sure I'm sure if you do your job, Revathi, you're gonna have people that may not agree, right?
Yes, I mean, we're definitely, really this line of work when we're looking at diversity and equity and inclusion measures and culture changes and how do we just do better and be better as an academic institution, as a higher ed institution. There's always going to be pushback, right? You're really asking people to be introspective about themselves personally and how they interact with the individuals and communities around them. And that's tough work.
That's tough.
Yeah. I mean, we have to do it ourselves, being the persons that sit in this position, right? Like as Associate Dean of Inclusion, it's not any easier for me having to do the work for myself. And then, it's a big ask when you're talking about change, but it's the beauty and the collectiveness that comes from it that we are striving for.
You know, experience shows me that although we have great people at Western Iowa Tech, great ones, because I know them, but we have a few that aren't so great, right? Because there's that in every organization, right? It's our job to alleviate the bad and perpetuate the good, right? So I got bad people in my family. I'm a good dude. You know, my mom's a good lady. My dad's a good lady, but I got cousins.
You got cousins. When it's hard, it's right. It's hard because it's like, how do you find the right words, right? And like, I'm gonna put you on the spot, right? Like this word bad is such a heavy word. And it's really coming terms to the fact that like people can make bad choices. They can make bad decisions, but that doesn't mean that has to dictate who they are as people, right? It doesn't have to dictate the character that they possess. It's honestly such a learning curve, and something that we are running across in a lot of the higher academia institutions is this idea of how do you shift the conversation about how we treat others outside of this scope of, oh, they're being overly sensitive, right? Or they are it was fine to make those jokes in my day, and now it's not. Like, why? What is it with these millennials or Gen Zers or something? Like, what is it with these latest individuals in the workforce that are in their 30s and below?
They won't. That's what it is.
And honestly, and that's really what it is, because, and when you look at it, it's the fact that it was never appropriate. It was never appropriate to call somebody a racial slur or to joke about somebody looking like a terrorist or any of these things, right? Or to be disparaging to somebody who's differently abled, right? But when you look at the context of the history of communication and human connectivity, right? A lot of that behavior was accepted socially. It was perpetuated by policies and law. So it's not that people are overly sensitive. It's that people have grown. People have realized that this is a change that's necessary to carry forward the union of the human spirit, right? How do we do that? How do we unify us? And part of that is really changing our dialogue about how we speak about one another, right? We don't be disparaging to one another. We don't use racial slurs and say, oh, it's fine. I didn't mean any harm by that. It's like, well, I know you didn't mean any harm by that, but you also just took part in perpetuating that type of harm that comes from normalizing that kind of social behavior.
Wow.
And we have to normalize being kind to people, you know, and in a way that does not use racial slurs and disparaging remarks towards people who are different from us, whether that's visibly or invisibly, right, through life experiences and different intersectionalities and diversity markers that we all possess that may not be overt just by looking at somebody, right? We all look at somebody and we create this narrative about them. We think that we can identify them and put them in certain boxes, and sometimes that's correct and sometimes it's not. But there's so much more to a person than just this outside that you see, right? Like, I often try to use myself as an example. I think that's just a great place to start, and it's also safe, right? Because I know me. And on the outside, someone can see that I'm brown, and I'd be, yes, I'm brown. You know, I'm South Asian descent. My parents are from India. I'm a woman and I identify as a woman. And then the things that people don't necessarily see about me, right? Like I'm a single parent. I am, like I said, I'm part of the South Indian culture. I'm also divorced. You can't see that just by looking at me, but that's also something that's really incredibly important to the person I am and these identities that I hold. And so, and there's a multitude of experiences about my life that I've lived from birth until where I'm at right now. And so really understanding how to have communications and build human connectivity while finding ways to honor the experiences that every person brings to the table is incredibly challenging, but incredibly important for the purpose and building together and growing together, whether that's on campus or outside our four walls.
You know, and if anybody's qualified for the job, you are, Revathi. Let me tell you this, is that before we got on this recording, she went at the capture thingy. You see words down there because she's caring about the people who are deaf. And I don't know how to really say it, but the people who are deaf, right? So she's not only trying to include people of color, but she's including people who are physically challenged, that are challenged to hearing things, seeing things, right? It's just not a black and white thing, it's everybody, right? And so that's what makes it better, because it's just not a race of people that you're trying to get equality for, it's people, right? It's people, regardless of what kind of person you are. And I just want people to get that. And again, I just say, I support you 100%, right? Especially with the captioning thing. I mean, because you're out for more than just that, right? You want everybody to be equal. And I'm just going to tell you now, you're going to have some pushback. And I would just say, Revathi, that if you didn't have pushback, you wouldn't be doing your job, right? You'd be just like the rest of us, letting things go by, and it's okay, and making things be, you know, watering things down, you know, and that's what you're not here to do. Right. My take on it.
Right. And I fully respect your opinion, and I hear what you're saying, right? Because I think, you know, in this series, when you approached me about being part of this Women of Excellence series, and first of all, I feel very humbled to be included in that, and thank you for thinking that I would be worthy of having this discussion with. I think something that's important, especially for women and especially for women of color, to understand is that navigating adversity is so critical to reaching whatever successes that you are destined for and that you want. And when we're looking at specifically this position of diversity and equity and inclusion work, absolutely there's going to be pushback, right? Because you're asking people to do something very tough, you know, even if they're they know that the changes that they need to be made, and in general, that they support certain movements and things like that. It's hard to work on ourselves, right? Because like we don't always want to be faced with the fact that maybe we aren't getting it right. I don't get it right, you know, like I'm in this position, and I try to say that as often as I can, is I'm not this individual that's this expert and gets it right every time. Like it is a continuous learning process for myself also. I am here to guide all of us through it as we're going through it, but this is in no way saying me like I'm perfect, that I have it all sorted out, especially when the realm of diversity, equity, and inclusion work is constantly changing, right? It's not stagnant, as it should not be, because society is continuing to change and the needs of people are changing. And so I think when you talk about pushback and kind of coming to terms with that. That's incredibly important, especially for women of color, to really understand that in adverse situations, you can still be triumphant. It's just, the road is challenging.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a, you know, to get a good outcome, you're going to have to go through a few things.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
going through college, you're going to go through a few things.
Yeah. Like, whatever, when we look at Western Iowa Tech, and I've only been here for 6 months, right? So I'm still learning a lot about the different facets that create really a trailblazing community college, right? I think we said in the beginning, I can't remember if we said it on recording or it was before we started recording, but in the state of Iowa, Western Iowa Tech is the only community college to have somebody sitting in this position, right? Doing the inclusion work, doing the equity work, diversity work. And that is a phenomenal and courageous move on the part of Western Iowa Tech, especially when you look at what's been unfolding the last 4 years, especially this last summer, with the resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement, police brutality issues, a multitude of social justice concerns really rising to the top and resurfacing, right? In the midst of a global pandemic. And where we're situated in Northwest Iowa, pretty rural, not as, I would say, as exposed to a lot of the social justice movements that we are seeing on our TV across the nation, right? And how do we navigate that? And then we're going to put this position in this place to really kind of figure out, what do we as a college need to do to grow and be better to serve the changing dynamics of our student population, and as well as our community, because our community as a whole is changing. And so for Western Iowa Tech to move forward and say, hey, we're doing this, and continuing to do this work in the midst of executive orders from former presidents at this point that was ceasing this work. And now we have this same situation arising in the Iowa legislature, where this proposed
Voting thing,
representation of education, on race and equity is really at a discussion to be halted. We are still wanting to push forward because there's an importance in the work that's being done, And so for Western Iowa Tech to really continue to want to lead that change is incredible. And now, the Iowa Department of Education and the Iowa Community Colleges, Association of Community Colleges Trustees have opened a position for a director of equity inclusion, I think. I can't remember the exact title at this point. And I serve on the hiring committee to kind of help guide this trailblazing position in that facet that's really been inspired by what Western Iowa Tech and President Merle have done, with the assistance of other people that have made this position possible. So incredible strides are being made, and incredible strides are yet to come.
So, we were supposed to get to your background, but this is such a juicy subject that it's very hard to get to it. So I just want to kind of say this is that, about the Black Lives Matter movement. Do I support it? I'm Black, right? Of course, I don't like to see, Black people die, right? But here it is. I think enough about my students not to wear it to work, right? Like I got plenty of Black Lives Matter masks that you can go buy, and sweatshirts that you can buy. But when I come to Western Iowa Tech, I am nonpartisan. I am a person that will help you regardless of your skin color, your political affiliation. I want you to get a degree, right? And if I wear something like that, somebody that disagrees ain't gonna come to me. Just like if I was a student and I seen some teacher wearing a Trump mask or a Trump hat, you think I'm gonna go to him? Right? So I don't care what you believe in. You just don't bring it to work.
Yeah.
And when I go to the mall, I can't even do that at the mall. right? Because I'm Mike Brown, the WIT employee at the Southern Hills Mall.
Oh, yeah.
Right, because they see me. They don't see Mike. They see this guy that works at Western Iowa Tech.
Right.
And I have to watch what I say. I even have to watch what I wear. You know, because it's not about me. It's about me helping people, even when I'm not at school. Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, I gotta get into this before we get it. So background, all right, because this is juicy, right? So Revathi, what's your background in? Where, you know, what's your education in?
Okay. God, the word juicy. I'm like, am I like gonna live up to this? Like, I don't know. It's the pressure is on. So background educationally, right? That was your question, Mike?
Yes.
Okay. So background educationally, did you want me to like start at undergrad or like where do I?
Undergrad.
Okay.
Where did you go? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm actually a 4-year kid. I actually went to community colleges like online while I was at university, but I went to the University of Nebraska Lincoln. I did a oh my goodness, I did a bachelor's in political science, minor in English, and I graduated in 3 years. And that was made possible because I actually attended community colleges at the same time. And this is now I realize, right, looking back, but in my last year, in one semester, I took almost 30 collective credit hours. Wow. Between 3 different institutions: Nebraska Lincoln, Metropolitan Community College in Omaha, and Southeast Community College in Lincoln. And highly don't recommend doing that. Don't do that. But I don't do it. But I was ready to be done. You know, I was ready to be done. And so I graduated in 3 years. And then I took a year off. I actually got into a pretty serious car accident the day I graduated from undergrad. And so that took me out for a year. And then eventually studied for the LSAT, went to law school at the University of South Dakota in Vermilion. And that's a 3-year law program. So I graduated my Juris Doctorate degree. And then I specialize in immigration law. I still do that work every now and then. It's such a critical need for our community. And I feel very invested in that side of my purpose until I can see that need is being met by other people. And right now we're not quite there yet. And hopefully in a few years we'll be able to have more immigration practitioners in our area. Wow. And I can kind of guide and mentor more than I participate in the work itself, but we'll see, we'll see what that looks like. And I've worked in hospitals and doing diversity, equity, inclusion work. I did DEI work in the universities that I've worked for and have attended, both at Nebraska Lincoln and at the University of South Dakota. And now I get to live that out with Western Iowa Tech. So.
Wow. I am not a Husker fan. Now.
This is where it gets juicy. This is
not a Husker fan.
We about to fight, Mike.
Yeah, no, my son goes to Nebraska. Yeah, he's a Husker. Okay. And in-state tuition looked real good, right? Because I live in Nebraska. My daughter is at Iowa State where I went to, but my daughter is sharp. She's got my wife's brain. My son has my brain, which means that he will make it through college, but C's and B's.
Right? Hey, you know what? Resourceful. Look at what you've done for yourself.
Yeah. But my daughter, she's cut from a different cloth, and so is my wife. They both out brain capacity me, if that's a word. So yeah, that's just crazy. I'm thankful that you're here. You're an extraordinary woman just for being here and from accepting the challenge that faces you, right? Mm-hmm. There's some people that would like, Sioux City, I'm out of here, right? But you stayed here for a bigger purpose than yourself, right? So that's how I look at it, right? That's how I look at it. And I'm like 50, so I look at it right? I'm right. That's how I look at it. So
never wrong. No.
Yeah. Okay. So my next question is this. We got into the media.
Okay, wait. We have a set questions. Wow.
Right, because we feel we've just been going because of that juicy subject. right? Because of that subject.
Oh my goodness.
Here's
Okay,
something
yes.
that's going to be a little easier for you. Well, it may be hard. I don't know. But you know, you got some big shoulders, right? You've been holding some things up on your shoulder. So what would you tell women that's coming behind you that want to get into the fight that you're in, or just want to get a degree, right?
Yeah.
What advice would you give them?
So the one thing I always say is you've earned your seat at the table, so show up for it. And in the event that you don't like the table at which you're seated, build your own. That's it. I think that's it. Like, it's simple, right?
I see you.
But we've all gone through stuff, right? And I have such a desire to impact women, especially women of color, and a weak spot for women of color who come from immigrant backgrounds, because the weight that we carry and the culture clashes are just is different. And to really understand that they can seize whatever it is that they want.
Yes. Yes.
That the circumstances in which you are currently in, the circumstances in which you were born in, whatever has put you in the circumstance that you find challenging, it does not have to define where you go in life.
Amen.
And, don't be afraid. When I say, so like, you earned your seat at the table. Something that has been so often brought to my attention was, like, I didn't earn what I have earned in life. Rather, it was given to me because I'm a person of color. And, my response to that was, well,
oh my God,
I need you to elevate to where I'm at, right? Like, I'm rooting for you, but don't put me down, based on some assumption that you have of me. But also so like, you earned your seat at the table, show up for it, but don't be afraid to leave the table when it is no longer serving your purpose, when it's no longer growing you spiritually, professionally, personally, whatever that may look like. Everybody's journey is different, but don't be afraid to build for yourself, right? Everybody has a certain amount of time that they're given in life, and everybody has a certain amount of time that they're meant to spend at every place that they go, right? Whatever phase in life that is. And don't be afraid to just own it and bloom and blossom in that space when you can, for however long you can, and then to really be the advocate that you need for yourself to grow elsewhere, right? Because we all get to a point where, like, maybe the city that I'm in isn't growing me anymore, or the position I'm in. Maybe I want to get a higher position in the same institution. Maybe I want to do something totally different. Maybe I want to just, like, a huge career turn, whatever that looks like, right? Build for yourself, because at the end of the day, you're your biggest advocate. I mean, there will always be women like myself that are rooting for you and will carry you when you are too tired to run the world, like Beyonce says, right? We all need breaks. But don't be the one to give up on yourself.
There's plenty of other people that will do that for you.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about the table, right? It just, my dad didn't make this up. He got it from someone else, I suppose, but he always said, Mike, if you're not at the table, then you're probably on the menu. Yeah. And that right there got me into business, right? That got me into having something outside of my regular job as an income, right?
Yeah.
And I've always been up forward with this about this. I love Western Iowa Tech, right?
Yeah.
But one day it won't be cool to wear my hat on backwards. I'll just be too old to do the thing, right? And hopefully I will recognize that when it happens. And right now it hasn't happened. I feel like we keep up with these youngsters, but
you keep up well, Michael. You're young. It's what's at heart, you know?
Yeah. One day it won't be, and I hope that God lets me know when that time is and I'm not looking crazy, right? That's what I don't want to do, is when you stay past your time. So anyway, you know what? It's been a treat, Ray. I think that you have awesome things to do, not only at Western Iowa Tech, but I'm sure you have many years after that, right? And what the work you're doing, you're not only doing it for my wife, but you're doing it for my daughter. You know, you're doing it for women coming after them. And you may not even see the work that you do. You know, sometimes it says a good community comes together when a man and woman can plant a tree under which it will never see its shade. And that's like the one of my favorite quotes, is that this ain't for you. So what we're doing right now, it ain't for us, it's for future generations.
Yeah.
Right? Because usually we don't like it, right? Because we're the old, you know, but the younger kids is going to accept it a little bit better than their parents, than my parents, you know, than me. You know, and that's just real talk. So anyway, I hope we get another chance to do this. And I will definitely see you in the hallways.
Yes.
And again, you know, you got an advocate here. You need help, you just come and get me. That's what's up.
Absolutely. I feel fortunate to be at Western Iowa Tech. I feel fortunate to be able to work alongside you, and so many amazing people. And you know, the work is tough, but it is the collective effort that is going to get us to where we're wanting to go. And I can't wait to continue striving towards that, and watching it unfold, come together and unfold.
Wow. Awesome interview, Revathi. I appreciate it. And I'll see you in the hallway.
Sounds good. Bye, Mike. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.